When it comes to achieving food security, experts say the agricultural landscape needs to be looked into by identifying areas for increased production, addressing challenges, and highlighting successful interventions. One of its many benefits would include more job opportunities for youth while reducing our importation of food items, thereby significantly contributing to the country's GDP. Joining us in the studio is a farmer, entrepreneur, coordinator, Southwest Commodity Farmer Organization, Prince Dasaolu Olusegun. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
When it comes to the matter of agriculture, we recall that this was what we were known for when you talk about the early 60s and all of it before the oil boom. And now several governments afterwards have tried to return us back to what we used to be known for, the pyramids and all of that. Recall that even the past administration at some point had the pyramid, the rice pyramid, somewhere, I think in Abuja, showing that we're trying to regain ourselves back with matters of agriculture. But if you look at then and now, talking about in the 60s and now, what really are we not doing right in terms of returning back to this matter of agriculture, harnessing all the resources we have? Because then it was a matter of diversifying the economy, and that seemingly has not yielded as much result. That's what some Nigerians are saying.
Well, thank you, and good morning, viewers. To our farmers, the Southwest, great farmer, we say great nation. I used to be a son of a farmer, a cocoa merchant in those days.
Right.
And as a son of cocoa farmer, we are like living in a luxury, comfortable. And farming is a pride portion of profession that everybody wants to belong. And that's what made me to read agriculture. And so when we look at how it happens then, the perception of a farmer and agriculture per se, vis-a-vis what we have today in the field of agriculture, we cannot compare the two.
Why so?
Yeah. The difference is very clear and glaring that in those days, there are right policies put in place. Enabling environment, good enabling environment were created for farmers to thrive in their profession. And as a farmer, while you are producing, the government showed keen interest on what you produce, how do you sell it, how do you make gain, and how do you benefit yourself, and how do you live a better life in those days. But when the oil came up, all these things gone. So agriculture was recklessly abandoned, and farmers were forgotten. As a result of that, what we are having today is food shortages and crisis in food supply chain.
Are we on the right track now?
Especially with policies that government, previous administration put in place. We had the anchor borrower scheme, and then we see that even this current administration is also building on that, talking about how it's important that we look in that direction.
Thank you very much. Anchor borrower program, a lot of programs put in place by the federal government are very good and laudable programs. But there is but there.
What's the but?
Thank you. The last Anchor borrower program, if you see how it's been executed, you see there has been a lot of loopholes and errors in it. I participated. I happen to be a member of a committee for Ankobora program in Ogun State. So I know what happens there. The Ankobora program was designed. It's a very good program. But you see, the execution of it was anchored by the central bank. And everything about that Ankobora program was implemented right from central bank. You cannot get good results as a result of that.
Because central bank handled it?
Because central bank, because it is the Ankobora, it's not only but that the central bank anchors it, the state government and even the stakeholders themselves at the grassroots, their involvement was limited. Reason being that every other things that were provided under Ankobora program, input, land clearing, and everything about Ankobora program was programmed from Abuja. It shouldn't be so. If we really want to get it right, Ankobora program should be brought down to the state, to the local government.
But do you see anything now that shows that these concerns that you have are being, incorporated under the present administration, since a food state of emergency to enable food security has been declared by the present administration?
Yes, I could see some move and some changes being made so as to make sure that, a lot of error has been made and observation has been made by government itself. No doubt about it that government who put Ankobora program in place actually knows that there was error in that program. Actually know that the policies and the things that surround Anchor, not only Anchor. You see, agriculture cannot thrive unless we actually bring it down to the local level. When you want to plan your program for development of agriculture in the country, you have to involve the farmers themselves, those who produce the food. You cannot shave the head of a man in his absence. It's not going to work.
Right.
So you have to involve those who are in that practice. Let me tell you on Ankobora program, I'm on cattle commodity.
Okay.
On Ankobora program, I can tell you out of all that fund that was released under Ankobora program, in this Southwest that I come from, less than 10%, if it's up to, is what we benefited from that Ankobora program.
Who had the remaining percentage? What happened to the remaining percentage of those monies?
Your guess is good as mine.
You were involved, so perhaps you had information, or you have information that you might want to share with us on how it is that it was only 10%.
Okay, let me tell you.
Right.
The less than 10% was what came to Southwest. For instance, I'm telling you about our commodity that I belonged.
Yes.
The cattle.
Yeah.
When they were programming Ankobora program, there must be an off-taker.
Okay.
In their programming in cattle production, our off-takers are the butchers.
Okay.
And butchers were not captured as an off-taker under Ankobora program.
Who were those captured?
Nothing for cattle. If there's anybody who benefited from that, I'm just singling out a commodity.
Okay.
And in other commodities too, there are a lot of bottlenecks that one has to pass through. And state government has a very key role to play to make sure that the zone itself, key into it. A lot of things went wrong that made it impossible for us to actually benefit from that. My governor from from Ogun State,
At the time of the current...
Yes, Dapo Abiodun.
It was still Dapo.
Actually made a spirited effort for us to make sure that we benefited from this Anchor Borrower program in Ogun State. And he himself can confirm what I'm telling you, because we, the farmers, I led the farmers to tell him that Anchor Borrower program that was executed by last administration was a colossal failure. To the point that the governor has to lead us to Abuja before the central bank governor, along with him, to attest to the fact that really Anchor Borrower program, there is need for serious adjustment to make it work. However, Anchor Borrower program is a very good program. And what are the farmers needed to be adjusted in Anchor Borrower program that will make it work?
Okay.
Fine. Number one, the Anchor Borrower program per se package must be brought down
to the local level.
And let the farmers input supply, whatever thing that is needed to be done there, let there be clear transparency. The Anchor Borrower program that was executed last time lacks transparency. That is the bitter truth.
How do you mean when you say transparency? Because there are those watching us and would want to understand what you're saying. So it's very important that we do not speak in parables, and these are weighty allegations as well.
It's not a weighty allegation.
Because there is no evidence to prove, right?
It's not a weighty allegation. I can refer you back to the central bank. The clear evidence are there to say, show us, although some successes are recorded on that Anchor Borrower program, but there are serious error
and transparency issues.
And transparency issue on that Anchor Borrower program, which the current administration need to look into.
That's why I need you to speak more on the transparency issue so they know how to address it.
Okay, like when we talk of the input supply, even the state government have no control over the supply of input to his farmers. Everything is remotely controlled from Abuja. Look, we cannot get anywhere when we just put policies, implementation, and control at the center. It cannot work.
So that's why you say now that so having to ask questions, having to engage was a problem, because if it had been closer home, you could have been reaching out. Is that what you are saying? You could have been reaching out for feedback on the enforcement of these policies, as against if it is centralized. That we saw.
There's a long chain of commands for communication.
Is that what you're saying?
Of course, to corroborate what the point that you've just made. It is not easy for a farmer to go and complain of what is his in Abuja. But if the program is brought down to the local level, it is easy. Even if the state government, your state government is getting it wrong, it is easy to point to say this is wrong. How do we correct it? A farmer in the local area will be able to move to his capital and say, look, this is what they are giving me. Who supplied this chemical?
Okay.
Yes. How do we cannot take this chemical because it is wrong chemical.
Right.
This land should be cleared at so time. Even state government has no power. Even to clear land is Abuja that controls everything. It's remotely controlled. In fact, that one alone, rubbish Anchor Borrower program.
We've always been talking about, one government to the other. Should the current government inherit a particular policy, continuity, or should the present government bring up its own unique policy? I'm not talking about the agricultural sector alone, but specifically now in an area, in a sector, you are a key stakeholder. What is the future now of the Anchor Borrower scheme? Are you seeing a semblance of this policy still being enforced, and is it being tweaked to address these concerns presently?
Yes, for us as farmer and farmers group, we are seeing some signs that some adjustments is ongoing.
So essentially it's still in place.
It's still in place, and let me emphasize that Anchor Borrower Program is a very good program put in place. Because first, it's assist the farmers that when they produce, they have ready market. It's a big problem. Anchor Borrower Program takes charge of everything that will assist farmers. You don't have access to fund, you have access to your input. And there is an element of trust, confidence, and security of the fund that may be given to the farmers. So Anchor Borrower Program takes charge of that. As a result of that, we as farmers, we love Anchor Borrower Program, but that Anchor Borrower Program, we want to advise this current administration that it should not be centered in Abuja. Okay. It should be brought down to the local government, to the state government, and more so the farmers directly should get involved and should be held responsible for whatever thing that happens in Anchor Borrower Program.
Right.
All right, let's quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us.
20% of farmers
The future belongs to the dreamers, to the doers, to those who are not afraid of the side hustle. It's for those who are ready to turn their passion into something big. And to help keep you revitalized and inspired, Top Tea is with you every step of the way. You are made for more. Find your inspiration. Top Tea, big round bags of flavor.
On my dark marks, I've tried everything. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Thank you for staying with us. We've been looking at the matters of agriculture, especially with regards to food security, and attempts by previous administrations to address the matter of food security, introducing the Anchor Borrower Scheme in place. And we have our guest in the studio, Prince Dasaolu Olusegun, talking about this. He is a farmer, entrepreneur, coordinator, Southwest Commodity Farmer Organization. Now we hear you with regards to the matter of Anchor Borrower Scheme and the need to localize it as it is. But then we've also seen state governments. They have a role to play with these matters. The center is there. State governments also have a responsibility. They are closest to the farmers as it is. And we have seen a state like Niger State, bring in tractors, create an expanse of land, saying that they are looking at increasing food supply and ensuring food security as it is. We've also seen Ogun State putting some efforts with regards to agriculture. What say you to that, states owning this matter of food security?
Thank you very much. Our state governors in the Southwest need to rejig themselves to particularly with reference to agriculture. As we were discussing about Anchor Borrower Program, they have limited power over Anchor Borrower Program, as I've said. But because if they had been given enough power, we'll be able to take them up and say, look, Your Excellency, like we took our governor up in Ogun State. That is why he has to lead us to Abuja and say, look, I am in trouble with my farmers. He took us to before the central bank governor.
I've seen him take some effort as a state governor.
So what I want to implore the state government in the Southwest and beyond even Southwest, Nigeria per se, not just society, is that they should buckle up as far as agriculture is concerned.
In what ways?
Fine. Today, we are now in the farming season. If we count the number of tractors in this southwest zone, there's nothing to write home about it.
How many? Can you give a figure?
No, I cannot categorically tell you a figure, but I can tell you confidently that there is no sufficient tractor to work with for farmers in the southwest. Confidently, I'm saying it. And let me tell you, today, to get a tractor to work in your farm costs as much as per hectare. You spend almost 70,000, 60 to 70,000 to work
per day.
Per day, per hectare.
What will it take to fix that problem?
Thank you very much. There is need for our state governors to pay more attention to the development of. They have been trying. They are trying their best, but they need to buckle up and pay more attention to agriculture. You see, we cannot grow agriculture. We cannot attract youth to the development of agriculture to come and participate in agriculture unless we go mechanized agriculture. And we cannot mechanize our farm without farm implement tractors.
But there are those who are looking at modern ways of farming as it is, also introducing technology right, and all of that. Don't you think that if state governments are also looking in that direction, that would attract the youths as well?
So whether technology or mechanized agriculture, all boils down to the same point that we want to advance agricultural production. And we want to make it sexy, to attract youth.
Choice of words, please.
Sorry. We want to make it
beautiful?
Beautiful.
Attractive.
Attractive, yeah, attractive to attract farmers, young ones, so that they can take agriculture
just like you
as a business.
The son of a cocoa farmer.
Right.
I'm a son of a cocoa farmer, and I read agriculture, you know, and I'm into it. And so you see, it attracted me then.
Is any of your children towing your path as well?
It is a difficult thing because the terrain of agriculture in this country is not attractive to youth. You know, the bunch of problems that farmers go through, and when you go and look at the situation, when you produce to market it is a problem. Right. When you, in fact, the security challenges, everything put together, make it very difficult for farmers.
What's the level of subsidies in the sector for farmers to access? What's the level? Do we have, how abundant are these subsidies, if at all?
Subsidy for farmers? Well, federal government, state government, in their own way, are trying their best. They give inputs, subsidized, to help the farmers. But if we really want to actually grow agriculture, we must change our orientation, as I've said, the policy formulation, and we need to involve farmers deeply. And we shouldn't play politics with agriculture.
In the making of these policies?
Fine.
Right.
Yes, in making of our policies, we must involve farmers.
Right, but you, I'm sorry, Veronica, because you spoke about financing, a problem. You mentioned how critical tractors are, and we don't have enough.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, bringing in financing, what is the way out? In financing agriculture, the way out is, I will not advise government to dole out cash to farmers. No. And that is where Anchor Borrower program play a very key role in assisting farmers to thrive better. You see, when we are talking about tractor input to livestock and every like that, the federal government, state government can assist farmers to leverage on financing through different means so that farmers will be able to access funds directly or indirectly. You see, farmers don't need much cash to relate with.
What farmers need is input.
Okay.
Yes. Let me take, for instance, as a fish farmer, let's assume as a fish farmer. A fish farmer, you provide input for him. You make everything available for him. All he needs is to go and get his feed and feed his fish, take care of the fish and everything till it gets to maturity, and sell his fish. And he makes his money and return back the loan without even giving him, because by the time you release funds directly, it may be diverted as it used to be.
We've seen a case where some got this money, went to marry more wives.
Fine.
As it is. and they said that they were going to have them in the farms to work with them as it is. So perhaps we need more monitoring of how these monies are being used for whatever it is. But let's talk about some of the security issues that farmers are facing, which has to do with climate as it is. We saw in 2012 what happened. Flooding, some farms were, immersed in flood as it is. And then in 2022, we also had matters of flooding as well. How would you want state governments now? Because we're trying to localize these issues. We want state governments to own this matter of agriculture as it is. How would you want them addressing it moving forward?
Thank you. You see, in the Southwest government now have the best opportunity of getting it right vis-a-vis relationship with farmers and development of agriculture. The governors in the Southwest need constant interaction with farmers. They are doing it, but they need to gear up more. And you see, flood, sometimes you may plant your food, your farm, and then the flood just came, and that farmer have nowhere to resort to. If there's crisis, farmer lose out. You understand? So the governor in the Southwest need to actually get closer to the farmers. When they put a program in place for the farmers, occasionally, there is nothing bad in governors say, okay, I want to see farmers today. In an hour, how far are the programs I put in place with you? Just one lunch break or what have you. They will tell him every problem they are facing in that place.
But could you suggest one way they could address this matter of flooding? Just now, some of them might be watching or they are aides. And
well, you see, the flooding is a natural phenomenon.
Absolutely.
So the governor have limited power over natural occurrences. However, a farmer who wants to produce, there are flood areas that we need to avoid. It is the duty of the government to actually alert farmers to let them know that this area is a flood area. There are responsibilities of government that are needed in all areas of operation in the system. And when the government alerts, whoever put his head there knows that he bear the brunt. And you remember that there are a lot of places that naturally we have not been having flood problem. But the line that the water passes, a lot of things people have built houses along that line.
Yeah.
And so many things have happened. So the water recede back and flood back and clear up farms. So the government policy needed to be put in place proper so that they monitor and guide where the flood or obstruction into the flood line that can cause problems.
Like Lagos State doing.
Like Lagos State.
Right. I quickly want you to address, the issue of security, insecurity, because all over the country, that's the narrative, that while we are not seeing enough food, abundant, apart from the fact that we may not be able to afford food that we want to eat, but farmers being scared to go to the farms. What's the situation in the Southwest?
Thank you very much. That is the key problem that we are facing in the Southwest. And it's a big problem because as I speak with you, agriculture is not attractive to farmers. They are scared. There are security issue. We are not overblowing it. Not that people are killing themselves, but there is a situation whereby people are scared of going there, or they produce and the produce is consumed by animals. Is a common problem. So there is security challenge on that aspect.
And that needs to be improved upon.
And that needs to be improved upon.
Right.
And as we as critical stakeholders.
Quickly, our time is almost up.
As critical stakeholders, we are working seriously on that.
All right. That would be a fine place to leave this conversation. Now, unfortunately, time is not our friend. But we must thank you, Prince Dasaolu.